Good evening. Welcome to our 2025 special town meeting. We do have a quorum. It's after 7, so we will get started. I'm Dan Evans, your town moderator. The tellers have informed me that a quorum is present. The meeting will come to order. The return of the warrant by the town constable shows that the warrant was properly served, so the meeting is properly constituted. I would like to invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, which is how we start all of our town meetings. So please stand with the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. I'll start with introductions. Up here at the front of the room to your right and my left, we have our select board, Ellen Marr, Chair, Chris Flex, Vice Chair, David Ferret, Paul Grady, and Julie Rollins. We have also our Town Manager, Chris Senior, our Assistant Town Manager, Michelle Leary, Town Council, Carolyn Murray. Behind me to your left, my right, is our Advisory Committee, Gene Estino, Chair, Mike Barkley, Tom Callahan, Mark Cameron, Mike Flaherty, Diane Kennedy, Mark Maggie, Courtney Murphy, and Vince Thornton. Here, small table, we have our town clerk, Lisa Leger, and the assistant town clerk, not yet at the table, is Beth Anderson. Tellers behind them who will count any hand counts if we need it, Debbie Leggett, Phil Faulkner, Nina Welford, and Grace Evans. Our guest policy is that anyone who came into the meeting who's not a town voter should have a name tag on, and they should be seating in the non-voting section unless they're a town official or a town employee, in which case they may be seating with their group or their department. The meeting will proceed, as you know, discussing the articles in the warrant. Each of you ideally has 2 different booklets with you. One is the bound, end-bound document that was sent to everybody's house, titled Town of Cohasset Warrant. That indicates each of the 12 articles tonight that we will be discussing. The second document, at least as important, is the packet with a staple in the corner entitled Town of Cohasset Town Manager's Proposed Motions. Those motions, that's the one you should really be referring to during the course of the meeting. Those motions have the actual language that is the language of the motion that we will be discussing, at least beginning our discussion of with each of the articles. So you'll see that in order to save the time from reading any of these motions out loud, as we begin each article, I will ask, may I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? And ideally, someone will say moved, someone else will say second, and they will have just moved the motion as it's printed in this packet. Now, obviously, any of those can be changed afterwards, but those are the motions that we start the discussion with. So when I say that at the beginning of each article, that's referring to these motions. Those are the magic words. The words in the warrant are just notice of the items to be acted on. Those are not the magic words in terms of what we're adopting or discussing this evening. We will vote on each of the articles by voice unless I'm uncertain on the count on a voice vote or 7 voters stand to indicate that they doubt my count, which is fine. If necessary, we'll vote by hand ballot and the tellers will take their stations, and you'll vote on a hand ballot by holding up this little slip of paper that you got when you entered the meeting. So keep track of that. If we're voting by hand ballot, you'll need to be holding that in the air to be counted. If you would like to speak on a motion, please move to the microphones to be recognized. We have microphones in the center aisle and the 2 side aisles and up front. Once recognized, please begin by giving me in the meeting your name and address. Please keep the debate concise and to the point. All the debate must be courteous and respectful. Brevity is both courteous and effective. Sarcasm is never appropriate. It generally should not be necessary to refer to any specific individuals involved in the debate. If, in order to be understood, you must refer to another speaker's remarks, please do so with the utmost respect. Speakers, as you know, are limited to 5 minutes, except when arranged in advance. If at any point anyone has a concern about the procedure of the conduct of the meeting, including a concern that I may have done something incorrectly, you should seek to be recognized. Let me know that you have a point of order and then state your question or concern. One of the motions that's used at our town meeting, procedural motion, is a motion for the previous question or move the question. When that is moved and seconded, it brings an immediate vote on the pending motion. So if it's adopted. So motion for the previous question requires a 2/3 vote. I will only entertain a motion to move the question after both sides have had a fair opportunity to be heard in the debate. And I may allow voters who I've already recognized at microphones to speak before we proceed to the motion to move the question. If the motion is made, we then vote on whether to stop debate. Again, it requires 2/3 vote to stop debate. If debate is stopped, we then proceed to a vote on the main motion that was under discussion. If debate is not stopped, of course, we continue with debate. That's it on the process for this evening. Any questions? Very well. Let me begin the meeting before we get to Article 1 by recognizing our town manager, Chris Senior.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. After nearly 24 town meetings over 12 years, I stand before you tonight for the last time as Cohasset Town Manager. It's been an incredible journey, and I want to thank all of you for the time and talent you've shared with me and with each other these dozen years, especially in preparation for nights like this one when town meeting is in session. When I came aboard in 2014, I had years of management experience in both the public and private sectors, but I had never managed a town meeting process. There was really nothing else like it. Residents coming together to discuss and vote on bylaws and budgets, legislative acts, and capital investments. It takes months of work by citizens and staff alike in meetings and forums and more meetings and lots of input. It honestly seemed a bit overwhelming at first, and I was glad that one of my early meetings was with moderator Dan Evans. Dan welcomed me to Cohasset and shared some important advice. Preparation makes all the difference. So make sure you get the boards and committees what they need so they can discuss and debate what's going on the warrant. And when you get to town meeting, keep the presentations concise and to the point. I took that advice to heart, I hope. And today, after more than 400 articles over nearly 24 town meetings, covering everything from additional alcohol licenses for local restaurants to zoning updates, lots and lots of zoning updates, not to mention 12 annual operating and capital budgets and everything in between. I hope I have given town meeting and the citizens who make it go the support you have needed to keep Cohasset the incredible special place it is. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you to the Select Board, to the Advisory Committee, and to all who make this and every town meeting successful, and especially to all of you tonight and throughout the past 12 years who take time out of your lives to participate in town meeting and set Cohasset's course. It has been my honor to serve. May tonight and every future night the town meeting comes together be a celebration of the Cohasset community and its future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I recognize Katie Dugan.
Good evening. My name is Katie Dugan. I've been a citizen for 25 years. The first time I met Chris Senior was during public comments at a select board meeting in early 2014, soon after he started as town manager. After that initial meeting, Chris reached out and met with a small group of parents and encouraged us to become involved. Over his tenure in Cohasset, Chris Senior has helped connect individuals and committees to support active civic engagement and help Cohasset achieve its many town and school goals. I also credit Chris with helping steer our town steadily away from the fiscal crisis of 2011 and 2012, when we had little to no free cash flow, limited financial policies, and a much lower bond rating. During his tenure, he has worked with the community to put in place financial infrastructure and long-range planning initiatives to elevate Cohasset's finances to a place where we can renovate Town Hall, consider a new public safety building, and begin to consistently make investments in our schools and roads and sidewalks. There are countless accomplishments from the town manager's office that never receive a round of applause. In January this year, Chris directed the PEB committee to work with him and the town treasurer in advocating for lowering Norfolk County pension expense. Under his management in the last 30 days, the town successfully averted a $300,000 increase in pension costs. There will be no applause for this invisible advocacy for Cohasset. Because of his leadership on this issue, we have more financial capacity to support school and other town priorities in the next operating budget cycle. Chris is a leader who did the hard work behind the scenes to make Cohasset a better place. On behalf of the community, thank you for your years of service to the town.
And finally, Paul Grady.
I don't have any notes, but I'd just like to take a moment to thank Chris. 12 and a half years of service to this town. When I first came on the select board, first call I got was from Chris Sr. reaching out to me. We didn't know each other too well. Asked me how we could sit down, when we could sit down to work together. And working with a wonderful chair in Jean Healy-Dippold, we pulled together, and a wonderful board. We pulled together quite a few initiatives with Chris' help and his input and his guidance, where we have roads and sidewalks being replaced, stabilization funds in order, a new town hall on the way, or a refurbished one. And I just want to keep this brief and just wish Chris smooth sailing, and just to know you've got a friend in me in Cohasset, and I do think that we owe him a round of thanks and applause, which we've already given, but I'd still like to see it again if I could ask.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll proceed to Article 1, creation of a revolving fund for the Cohasset Community Market. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. It does require a majority vote for adoption. I'll recognize our town manager, Chris Sr.
So this will set up a revolving fund which will allow money to come in for management of the market. We had to use a gift account this year as staff stepped in to operate the market. So this will just allow the fees from the market to come in and go back to pay for some of the expenses and the licensing and all that has to happen for the market. By the way, if anyone wants to volunteer, Cassandra Thayer, our town planner, would love to have your name. So grab us afterwards.
Thank you. The Select Board has recommended approval by a vote of 4-0, and the Advisory Committee has recommended approval by a vote of 8-0. Is there any discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. The motion on Article 1 does require a majority vote for adoption. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is adopted unanimously. Article 2, unpaid bills from previous fiscal years. Does require a 9/10 vote for unpaid bills at a special meeting. I'll recognize our town manager, Chris Sr.
Thank you. We've been very successful in not having this article in the last few warrants. Unfortunately, a few things slipped through. Our new town accountant is shaking the trees, and we're hoping this will not happen again. They've all been validated, they're all owed, and they're all ready to go.
Thank you. The Select Board has recommended approval by a vote of 4-0. The Advisory Committee also recommends approval by a vote of 8-0. Is there any discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. The motion under Article 2 does require a 9/10 majority for adoption. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is adopted unanimously. Article 3, stabilization funds. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Requires majority vote for adoption. Again, Town Manager Chris Senior.
So this deposit into the OPEB trust fund follows the town's financial policies, in particular the OPEB trust fund policy. We deferred a little bit from the spring just to make sure we had enough to cover the budget challenges we were going through. That is fully made up for in this deposit. And on the last check going into the meeting, there was about $9.2 million in the fund, and this will push us close to 10.
Thank you. The Select Board has recommended approval by a vote of 4-0. Advisory Committee also recommends approval by a vote of 8-0. Recognized on behalf of the Post-Employment Benefits Committee, Mr. Tim Davis.
Timothy C. Davis, 257 Atlantic Avenue. Any opinions expressed in the following message are mine and what I believe are those of the PEB committee. I in no way intend to insult or disparage anyone. If anyone thinks I have, please contact me directly to discuss it, and please do not resort to social media. The Post-Employment Benefits Committee is charged with the oversight of the trust funds which provide pensions and medical insurance for our retired town employees. For 15 years, this committee has been working to provide these excellent retirement benefits with a manageable impact on the town budget, while at the same time contributing to the AAA bond rating for our town debt. This year, as you heard previously, the Norfolk County Pension Board proposed raising our annual payments by an additional $381,000 per year. The PEB committee and Cohasset Town Management worked in collaboration with other towns in the network to get that reduced to $82,000 for a savings of almost $300,000 a year. Also, with the support of the Cohasset Select Board, the community, the fiscally sound OPEB management plan has kept our bond rating for our $20 million debt at AAA, thus saving the town at least $300,000 per year. This means that between the two retirement plans, the town has been able to save about $600,000 per year for the foreseeable future. I would like to thank my colleagues on the PEB committee, Chris Senior, the Select Board, and the community for their continued support of the PEB committee work. In particular, I'd like to thank Linda Cole and Katie Dugan for their extraordinary work on this. I must say that in these times of significant and difficult issues, from the school budget to the public safety buildings to the loss of access to Cohasset Harbor, I am happy to be able to bring a bit of good news to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I just have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Owen Berry, 15 Bancroft Road. First off, I'm not here to disparage anything about OPEB, so breathe easy. I just know that after looking at some of the things, the extension of the Norfolk County retirement system, pushing out the payments to 2032, I believe was the last full one. How is that going to impact our future cash flow? We're now talking within a decade that we're potentially freeing up millions of dollars, half of which I believe goes to OPEB from the Norfolk County retirement system. And I was just curious to know what we're looking at over the next decade as we have so many capital projects coming up.
Thank you. Mr. Senior.
Katie Dugan, 100 Black Rock Road. So there were two proposals before the Norfolk County Pension Board this fall for the funding plan for the pension. We are one of over 20 towns that participate in the Norfolk County pension. And as discussed, the plan that it was actually advocated for pushed the amortization schedule for fully funding from what was a proposed 2031 to a 2033, 2035 funding schedule. The reality is that by pushing the funding schedule out from what was being proposed to the later funding schedule, we were able to reduce what Cohasset was paying in terms of a catch-up amount, which is why we are no longer going to be obligated next year to pay out $381,000, but rather just an $80,000 increase year over year. In terms of your specific question, in terms of what happens at the end of this, so just a little history here. There is actually Mass General Law that requires all communities, Norfolk County pension, any pension that is in the PAIR Act system statewide, to be fully funded by 2040. So each pension system is making its own individual decisions. Norfolk County has made the decision to push out the funding schedule to that 2033, 2035, which puts us at the median of most of the communities. When we get to fully funded, there is some good news that happens for the communities in that pension system. For the town of Cohasset, we had estimated at one point, and again, these are not numbers that are necessarily going to be spot on because we're talking about actuarial and we're talking about lots of things happening over the next decade, but we are talking about anywhere between $1.5 million to $2 million of incremental money that the town would be receiving or not be having to expend in terms of expenditures. So there is an upside to getting to fully funded in that we will no longer be having to make a catch-up payment. And we'll just be having to pay the actual pension expense instead of getting to that fully funded. So there's $1.5 million to $2 million. Again, that number will change. And in terms of how that is going to be handled in the future, you are correct that there were two policies that were put in place, I believe in 2019 related to OPEB. One was an investment policy and the second was a funding policy. And the funding policy has two components to it. The first part of the funding component we just are discussing now. The second is what happens when that roll-off happens in the future. And the funding policy currently says that 50% of that roll-off goes towards fully funding OPEB. We are only at 22% fully funded for OPEB. So 50% of that roll-off in the future will go to fully funding OPEB, and the remaining 50% will go to the select board and the town manager and the community to decide how those funds will be reinvested in the community. The good news is that
he asked a very short, concise question. If you could just wrap up, please.
So your short answer is that there is a roll-off. It's $1.5 to $2 million, and it will occur in 2035, and half of it is committed to OPEB and the other half is committed to the community's decision.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. It does require a majority vote for adoption. Motion under Article 3, Stabilization Funds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is adopted unanimously. Article 4, Capital Improvement Projects. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Requires a majority vote for adoption. I'll recognize on behalf of the Capital Budget Committee, Susan Franklin.
Good evening, Susan Franklin, 75 Old Pasture Road. So the town is continuing to invest in its facilities to increase their useful life and upgrade their uses and capabilities. The water treatment plant and the sewage treatment plant are critical facilities to the operation of the town, and the projects in Article 4 are part of a long-term projects aimed at ensuring our plants are properly sized for demand, are up to mandated operational standards, and operate efficiently and cost-effectively. The upgrade and expansion of the residual treatment portion of the plant at the water treatment facility is phase one of a long-term project for the complete update and expansion of our water treatment facility. Phase one includes design and engineering to add another sludge lagoon to the current 2 lagoons located at the plant. The sewage treatment plant is undertaking phase two of a 2-part project funded in part by the state to inventory assets and prioritize the equipment and assets located at the plant to assess them so that we can plan for the future repair and replacement of the entire plant. $120K of this, the cost of this project is funded by a state grant, and the town's contribution is the $72,000 that you see in Article 4. So to continue in the vein of investing in our town and our town's facilities, the trench drains that you see in Article 4 are again part of our efforts as a town to properly maintain our facilities. The current drains are deteriorating and they need to be replaced. This is at the DPW facility and garage. These drains collect runoff from vehicles and garage operations and collect it in a holding tank so it can be properly disposed of. And the last item in Article 4 is the diesel bus lease. So increased ridership, out-of-town travel for sports, teams, and other clubs, and the need to always maintain a spare bus in the event of breakdown, either on an in-town or an out-of-town route. The town leases a fleet of 9 diesel buses and until recently 1 electric bus. We'd encountered issues with the reliability of the electric bus. The lease was terminated and the $22,682 that you see in the article was refunded to the Capital Stabilization Fund, and it presented an opportunity to replace that 10th bus in the fleet with a more dependable diesel bus. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll recognize for the Department of Public Works, Brian Joyce, the Director.
Good evening. Brian Joyce, Director of Public Works and Town Engineer. Dan, could you cue the slide? It's a little hard to see here, but just talking about the residuals management area. The plant at Lily Pond, on the right-hand side, you can see an overview of Lily Pond, and the red circle is where the residual management area is, or the sludge lagoons. The plant is off to the right. Next slide, please. And it's a little hard to see, but these next 2 slides, the existing sludge lagoons are the highlighted area. They've become a choke point they don't hold basically the sludge that we produce. The first process of the water treatment is to clarify the water. We add a coagulant, and that grabs all the suspended solids and organics that settle out, and they get sent to here. They've tried putting bags in there to give a little more capacity, but they're basically undersized. So next slide, please. You can show this is the design the design for the sludge lagoons. There's 3 lagoons in place of where the 2 would be. The 2 are the highlighted red area, and it's sized for future capacity of a plant, as Susan had said. Thank you.
Thank you. The Select Board recommends approval by a vote of 4-0. Advisory Committee recommends approval by a vote of 9-0. Water Commission recommends approval by a vote of 2-0. Sewer Commission recommends approval by a vote of 3-0. School Committee recommends approval by a vote of 5-0. Is there discussion? Yes, Ms. Jenkins.
Leonore Jenkins, Jerusalem Road. I just have a question about the bus. Can you please tell me what the difference is between the electric bus lease and the diesel bus lease in cost?
Who's best to respond to that question about the difference on the bus leases?
Because we were led to believe the electric bus was a lot more expensive than the diesel.
So the annual cost of the electric bus lease was $25,000, and so the diesel bus lease is actually lower at the $22,682, and that's for a 5-year lease.
Great, thank you.
Excuse me, and the 25,000 was a year-by-year lease?
I think she said 5-year lease. Is that right, Ms. Dugan?
So the proposal is for a 5-year diesel lease. It was also a 5-year electric bus lease. However, Susan pointed out that that has been terminated, so the town is no longer under that obligation.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so it was $25,000 for 5 years for the electric bus.
Yes. Is there any further discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. Does require a majority vote on the motion on Article 5. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is adopted unanimously. Article 5, Joseph Osgood Elementary School roof. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? Motion has been made and seconded. It does require 2/3 vote for adoption. I'll recognize first, I think, Town Manager Chris Senior.
So this is a very exciting opportunity that the town was able to proceed with, to partner with the Massachusetts School Building Authority and their accelerated repair program. This is the first time the town's ever been able to get into that program. And by partnering with them, we've been able to get into that pipeline. The town will be getting just shy of a full third back for the costs. The price you see in the warrant is the absolute maximum set that MSBA has been putting on the projects. They try to estimate as high as possible in case of any kind of cost overruns based on the unusual market we've been experiencing. And obviously any cost less, well, this town will save. So this is a very exciting project. It's been a great partnership with the town and schools, and I believe the superintendent will follow up with more.
Thank you. I'll recognize our Superintendent of Schools, Sarah Shannon.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak regarding Article 5 for the Joseph Osgood Elementary School roof renovation. This evening, we are asking for the first of 2 appropriation votes tonight to encumber current funds and next year for FY27 to encumber the remaining balance to fund the work approved by the Massachusetts School Building Authority to replace the roof at the Osgood School. The Osgood roof has reached the end of its useful life, and despite the work that our facilities department has done and continues to do to manage the new and ongoing leaks, it needs to be replaced. The MSBA has an accelerated repair program that supports roof renovations and replacements in schools. They've invited us into this program, and at the August 27th board meeting, approved our schematic design and total project budget. This allows us to seek funding, continue design work, and go out to bid, all with the goal of completing construction this summer of 2026. The total estimated cost for the roof, including contingencies and not to exceed, is $5,858,522. The MSBA is awarding us a grant of 32.47% of the total cost, which is estimated to be $1,902,262. This means that the total project, not to exceed, cost to the town would be $3,956,260. As our design firm continues their work, they will seek an updated estimate in January, and then we will know more firm costs once we go out to bid. We know, though, that those actual costs will not exceed the estimates. The cost of the project will be paid from the voter-approved School Stabilization Fund over 2 fiscal years, this year, FY26, and next, FY27. We are asking that the current balance of the School Stabilization Fund, which was created for purposes such as this, be encumbered at this town meeting, with the remaining cost for the project being encumbered in early FY27, so this project can continue to move forward. Once the Osgood roof project is complete, the town will then vote to appropriate the full cost of the roof from the stabilization fund, school stabilization fund, at the fall 2026 special town meeting. Our school district and the Osgood community specifically are grateful for the town's foresight in creating the school stabilization fund and for making it available for this exact purpose. The new roof will serve our students, staff, and families for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you. The Select Board has recommended approval by a vote of 4-0. The Advisory Committee has recommended approval by a vote of 9-0. School Committee recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. Capital Budget recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. Is there discussion? Yeah, Mr. Jenkins.
Bill Jenkins, Jerusalem Road. Quick question. I hope everybody realizes that we spent a little over $10 million for the school to begin with. Now we're spending over $5 million just to replace the roof. Is there something other than just the roof? Is there structural problems? They're making way for the solar panels? What's the reason for the cost? Anybody know?
I'll recognize our superintendent.
So the roof project is more than just the roof because now there's all of the HVAC equipment on top of it. So they're going to have to move that, fix some of the, and I don't know all of the technical terms, so please excuse me. But the pieces that sit on top of it where there's the roofing that connects it so that they don't leak in between. There's some windows that are actually part of the Osgood roof. The Osgood roof looks like a tub basin and it comes up on the sides. And in those sides are some windows. And if they're not replaced along with the roof, they will create more leaks. So that is a piece of it. And then this roof is a mixed roof. So there's I'm going to use the word rubber roof, and then there's actually shingled roof on the Osgood roof. So we're dealing with two different materials as well. And then the cost of roofs have gone up in the last few years. And so, but they do expect that there's likely going to be a drop when we get the actual costs, so that they are anticipating it won't be quite as high. But they do try to provide an estimate that is as high as it could possibly be. So we have the not to exceed cost.
Thank you. Sir.
Jeremy DeBona, 276 North Main Street. Just a question on it. I know we're trying to get the solar on there. Is there any way to negotiate with the solar company to do the repair, build that in, where, you know, we're leasing that for 25 years to them, but pass on the cost to them to fix the roof instead of us?
So the roof will be done in a way that it is solar ready. And there is a warrant article coming up where we'll be asking for the community to vote to approve so that we can explore options for actually getting solar put on the roof, because the solar is a whole separate project from what the MSBA will do. The MSBA only does the roof and gets it ready for solar.
Right, but can we negotiate with the leasing company? They pay for the roof itself instead of the town paying for it, because we're going to give them something. Can't we negotiate and have them pay to repair the roof? You know, instead of $5.5 million coming out of the Cohasset, I know we're getting a grant, but I know you can negotiate with these leasing companies. They've given 25 years to them. And on top of it, the roof has to be done, you know, they have to start doing the solar in June for them to get the tax credits, if I'm correct, based off the warrant. So how's this all going to work together? You know, the timing.
Thank you. You want to try and address the question?
I don't have the answer to that question. What I do know is that the Alternative Energy Committee is going to be meeting with our design firm and our owner's project manager to talk about how the timing can work. I don't know if.
Great.
Tanya Bodell, 88 South Main Street, Chair of the Alternative Energy Committee. So normally there are two separate processes, although there is a urban legend that you can deduct the cost of the roof as part of the solar. In fact, you can only deduct for the credit that portion of the roof changes that are made to support solar. So we'll be working with the developer so we understand what portion of that cost is tied to being able to prepare it for solar, and then the town will be able to get a 30% credit associated with that portion of it. Separately is the solar energy array that would go on top of that, and I think MBSA might have some requirements to make it solar ready because we're in a state that wants to go net zero by 2050.
Thank you. Are there other questions, other discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. Motion under Article 5 does require 2/3 vote for adoption. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is adopted unanimously. Article 6, creation of an enterprise fund for recycling transfer facility. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Does require a majority vote for adoption. I'll recognize Town Manager Chris Senior.
This article before town meeting will create an enterprise fund for the RTF. And before we begin a short presentation to go more into this, I'll invite Brian Joyce and Frank Marchione, our wonderful, the Public Works Director and the gentleman who's actually running our RTF now, to present. I just want to note that after the last annual town meeting, the select board asked staff to go back and reanalyze this proposal and then conducted 2 public forums and several public meetings to both explain the proposal and receive public input. And where we are tonight is the result of all of those conversations. So if we can pull up the presentation, okay. And we go to the first slide. I know they're hard to see. So there are materials in the warrant on Appendix A. There's a little bit more information there if people want to. It's not this presentation, but there is information in there. Basically, an enterprise fund is an accounting mechanism for very specialized municipal services where a fee is charged for goods and services that are almost always involving utilities. The water and sewer operations in town are like that. Other communities have their ambulance set up that way, or their harbors. And sometimes people have electric utilities. Those are all set up that way. What it primarily does is it allows not only for the operation to operate independently from an accounting point of view, it allows money to be saved and also bonding costs to be put against those specific operations. So, for example, if it's going to be upgrades to the plant or facility, any of the crushers or other equipment, they can be bonded and paid for by those fees. So wouldn't be competing for capital dollars with anyone else. Most communities that have well-established RTFs have enterprise funds. Situate, Hanover, Marshfield, Rockland, and East Bridgewater, just for examples. And the operations will continue to be run as they are. So if you can flip to the next slide. Basically, they're set up and they allow for the enterprise to be run as a business effectively. And they again, also allow for reinvestments and for costs to be contained within the actual operation itself. Now, for more on the RTF itself, I'll have Brian Joyce come up and take this.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is easy to read. So the projected annual budget for the RTF is $824,900. The half-year budget is $414,000, half of that amount. These are all the budget lines that pay for our labor, our disposal, our hauling, and anything related to the RTF. The bottom chart is for revenues. We have projected sticker revenue with the new sticker prices, fees of $450,000, and then other revenues for the fees for C&D and our pay throw fees. Next slide, please. So there are 17 stations at the RTF for disposal items. The items that are highlighted are free to residents. That includes all the recyclables, of course, waste oil, yard waste. Obviously, we have the ever-popular boutique and the Boy Scout can drives. Next slide, please. So our current fees are set. This vote tonight is not on fees. It's really just the establishment of the enterprise fund. So our new fees, our sticker price is $150 up from $75, with the additional cars at $75. The senior fee went from $30 to $60 with second and other vehicles beyond that at $30. And then we increased unit prices of our pay-through items to just cover our disposal cost and a minor labor fee on top of that. Next slide, please. So at our current fees, we still remain as the lowest cost provider. This is a comparison, an example of our costs versus private hauler costs with a monthly cost using 2 large bags a week, which is anywhere from 4 to 6 household trash bin bags, at a monthly cost of $44.50 versus private hauler, which is anywhere from $50 to $80. Added benefits for the RTF is you have 4 days you can access the facility and use it. Private hauler is just once, and with no additional pickup. And our pay-throw items are there's no private hauler that would dispose of mattresses, box springs, waste oil, TVs, computer monitors, C&D for what we charge just at cost. Next slide, please. So the RTF is currently, it's a permitted small waste generator facility at 50 tons per day. We're only utilizing conservatively about 15% of that. Some weeks it's only 10%. So with that capacity, there is potential for for additional revenues to support the bottom line and keep our fees down. So there's a pilot program that's been proposed, starting small, to open up the RTF with out-of-town stickers, just 100 out-of-town stickers at a cost of $300, double the town sticker. It will not include beach access, and there are additional items that are free to the town stickers that wouldn't be open to out-of-town stickers, such as $4 a bag or a barrel for yard waste disposal, waste oil at a nominal fee. And to monitor this, has been some discussion of potential traffic impacts on Cedar Street. So we've procured and installed traffic counters at either end of Cedar Street and also at the entrance of the RTF. They've only been out a couple of weeks, but early trends shows that roughly getting 700 at one end of the street on a daily basis average, 800 at the other end, and about 550 into the RTF. So roughly anywhere from 30 to 35% of the traffic flow coming on Cedar Street is what's entering the RTF. An additional 100 cars, only residential vehicles. We don't think it'd be much of an impact, but we're going to monitor that, starting the pilot program on or around January 1st. And these traffic counters will remain in place for a year or beyond, as much as we need them. Next slide, please. So that's just a picture of the deployment. Again, hard to see, but either end of the street at the RTF. I think that's the last slide. Again, this is just a vote on the creation of the enterprise fund so that the revenue generated in the fund will stay within the fund and support it. But it is a referendum on the future of the RTF in that, there are three options here. Either it goes enterprise fund and it funds itself, or it remains in the general fund, and we have the current split of 61% to schools, 39% to town. But it still would need to fund 100%. So potentially we need to increase the fees by up to 2.5 times to get from that 39% to the 100%. So that's what this is in, I believe, the back of the warrant. That's what this slide shows. Basically, if it doesn't go enterprise fund, then fees will need to be increased either through fees or through taxes. Or the facility would close. I guess that would be a third option. Is that the last slide, Dan? Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The Select Board has recommended approval by a vote of 4-0, and the Advisory Committee has recommended approval by a vote of 9-0. Is there discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to speak on behalf of the Select Board regarding this article. Just 3 quick points. Number one, regarding the proposed enterprise fund, the Select Board will be charging a citizen advisory group or committee regarding this. And it will consist of 3 citizens, a Select Board liaison, and the RTF director. And they will be able to report quarterly financials and any operational issues for the upcoming RTF. And so we wanted to announce that tonight while we had talked about it at other meetings, but in case there are any citizens out there who wanted to be on this committee, we wanted to solicit that so they can put their names in and file that with Town Hall so that while everyone's here, they certainly know about it because not everybody watches the Select Board meetings. Secondarily, the second point is regarding enterprise funds as a whole. If you go across the state, enterprise funds are generally used for particular town assets. Most notably is for water and sewer. Across the state, there's over 180 towns with enterprise funds for sewers. There's 178 that use it for water. The next highest thing on the list is for trash, and that includes not only recycling transfer stations like we have here in Cohasset, it's also for if you still have an open dump where you can still dump things, which we don't have at this time. Now, remember, a lot of towns do have private trash hauling as well, which I'll talk about as number 3. But the other assets that towns use, that these enterprise funds for, is whatever other town assets they have. So some of those include marinas, harbors. One town has a nursing home. Some towns have golf courses, such as Situate. They put that into an enterprise fund. Situate also puts their RTF into an enterprise fund, as well as their harbor, because they have so many slips there. And so thirdly, one of the things that you have is, well, why don't you do private trash hauling? And as our DPW director showed, some of the detractions of going to a private trash hauler. And so I would just warn everybody, if they had read the newspapers this summer, there was a strike with Republic, one of the main trash haulers in this state. And for over 3 months, their workers were out on strike. And during that time period, there was a long time where trash was piling up in different towns and cities, and the boards of public health in those cities, because of the amount of rats that there were in the town, had to warn people about the bubonic plague coming back. So while the situation was handled by September, and they did hire replacement workers to trash haul for those towns, those replacement workers then sued Republic because they said they weren't given the wages that they were supposed to. So that is not a road that I would suggest the town of Cohasset wants to go down. We have an RTF. It's been operating for many years. Because of the fire that was out there, there was a re-examination of all the practices and procedures out there and what could be done to improve it. And as you've seen, there's been many improvements regarding the new trash compactors, regarding how we dispose of that trash. And this is just another matter to make sure that the management of the RTF is as efficient as possible. Thank you. And the Board of Selectmen voted for this 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Yes.
Jane Gardica, 56 North Main Street. It was said that at the present time, about 60% of the income goes to the schools. And I remember at the last meeting, the statement was made that the schools would not be impacted by this change. I'd like to have clarification on that from someone from the school committee.
Someone from the school committee or the superintendent able to respond? Sure, thank you.
My name is Craig McClellan. I reside at Russell Drive. I'm a member of the school committee, but I don't think we're best suited to speak on how the RTF changes would impact the schools.
Sorry, he's saying he's not best positioned to speak. Is there someone from the Board of Selectmen or Chris, either of you could respond? I'll say it right here. The voters have done a great job keeping the questions concise. Let's try to be sure that all our answers to the questions are as concise as the voters' questions, please.
So the per bag fees were taken out of the planning for this, the paper throw were taken out of the budget this year. And to ensure that there was no impact on the school budget, the equivalent revenue they would have received, which was $152,000, even though it doesn't work quite like that. It's a little more complicated, but just to make it clean, was put into the school budget in their base. So they're now in their, it's in their base going forward. I see the superintendent nodding her head. She and I spoke about this multiple times. And this year's budget is also locked in place. So the schools have their revenue and everything's all set. Now going forward, there's going to be savings that'll come out of the shared expense because the enterprise fund will have to pay for this itself, like the benefits and the insurance. Those are currently in the shared budgets. And those are split, paid for before the town or the school side get any of their extra revenue. So there'll be some savings on that. And in terms of next year's budget, they'll be fine. I mean, this has been, the schools are fundamentally the largest thing we do, and they're always budgeted for in a priority manner. So this was designed not to have that impact. And I can go through a lot more conversation, but I won't.
Thank you. That's great, Chris. Sir. All right, gentleman in the middle.
Thank you. Dan Tarpey, 12 Bates Lane. For those that are not familiar with this initiative, it came up at annual town meeting several months ago, and the townspeople voted it down twice. For good reason. It's a tough sell. It also remains a tough sell. Unfortunately, the framework for the initiative is based upon a false narrative. The RTF, year in and year out, has been largely funded by general fund revenues. What portion of its funding came from bags and stickers was a minor contributor to the yearly budget. But in developing this narrative, we were led to believe that the RTF was hemorrhaging cash and costing the town quite a bit of money. Nothing could be further from the truth. A review of the budget from FY 23, 24, 25, all the figures that are available indicates that the cost of running the RTF stayed pretty flat. In fact, one year it declined. So what happened? It was that the tax money year in, year out from the general fund that has been used to support RTF operations was diverted to another department in FY 25 when they blew a hole in their budget. That's what really happened. The RTF funding had no bearing on this at all. To make up for that shortfall, we have this current initiative. Hence my description of it as a false narrative. Further, the question has to be asked now, what happens if this fails tonight? I'd be very interested to hear that answer if I could get it.
Sorry, was that a actual question?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I would like to know. I know there's some verbiage. It was discussed in the slideshow to some extent, but I'm not quite sure that everybody understands what happens if this initiative gets voted down by the townspeople for the third time.
Okay. Is there someone, either Chris or someone from the board, in less than a minute who can explain what happens if this doesn't pass tonight?
So first, this only went in front of the voters once, Mr. Tarpey. So it did go in front of an annual town meeting. It was voted down one time. This is the second time it's come up.
It was voted down.
Guys, let's, never mind.
I want to
Chris, can you
debate.
please, the question is,
The-
what happens if this doesn't pass?
There's a budget amendment in the next article that has to be made to cover the expenses. Because the budget was designed with the RTF. The general fund budget was designed for FY26 without the RTF expenses. It was designed to be in the enterprise fund. So there's a supplemental appropriation that has to be made in the next article to cover the deficit.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator. There were 2 votes at the annual town meeting. One was a voice vote followed by a hand count. 2 separate votes, and it was voted down both times.
Thank you. Sir.
Owen Barry, 15 Bancroft Road. I understand that we think that the only issue is that we need to raise fees. Part of what I have looked at when looking at everything is how everything's interconnected, and there are many things that it seems like we could be doing to reduce the tax burden as well. We got hit with a huge healthcare cost this year.
Sorry, sir, let's keep this on the RTF,
I am
please.
going to. I just want to say, I think that this is a fee that we are asking to put to an enterprise fund that we're calling the RTF, but it's not only for the RTF, it's also for Sandy Beach. Those expenses are not covered in here. There is an entire thing called the Highly Recommended Sound Practices for Calculating Enterprise Fund Indirect Costs. It states that we should have a very clear delineation of these costs because otherwise enterprise funds fail. That means that when this has been asked multiple times on that budget, those are not stated. We do not have an accurate amount of what we're actually voting for. And because we don't really know what we're voting for, we shouldn't be voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other discussion? Ms. Jenkins?
Leonora Jenkins, Jerusalem Road. As to what the previous speaker said about finances, I'm very concerned that our selectmen said, oh, well, we'll be getting quarterly financials. According to the state, we should be getting monthly financials in enterprise funds. And we also have town bylaws that were passed many years ago. I happen to know about that because I was part of the citizens group that did it through a citizens petition requiring monthly financials of all town departments, including enterprise funds. We have not had those for almost 2 years. And if we take a look at our warrant under Article 4, you see there was a breakdown from water. Oh, well, this was a surprise because these were projects that were never closed out because our people weren't doing the work. So I would like to make a motion that instead of doing an enterprise fund now, we do a revolving fund for a year because that would take the money out and put it separately like this enterprise fund would. And then we would have a chance to really see what the actual financials are supposed to be for this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, a motion for a revolving fund is not within the scope of the article, so it's not something we can consider tonight. We can consider tonight the motion for an enterprise fund. People can vote for it or vote against it, but we can't consider a revolving fund tonight. Is there further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. So as I understand it, there are 2 options being given to the townspeople. 1, we vote for the enterprise fund as so described, or 2, something of a nuclear option. In other words, all the fees are going to expand, they're going to go up considerably. In my mind, that's what's considered to be an illusion of a choice. We only have one option under those circumstances, to vote as we're being directed. Otherwise, the fees are going to go up. It's a contained choice. And the thing about a contained choice is that they're designed by definition to kind of lead people in a certain direction. And that's what we're being faced with tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there more discussion? Mr. Pratt.
Moderator, Glenn Pratt, King Street. This idea of the enterprise fund was first hatched in discussions that followed the destruction of the critical infrastructure, the RTF, by the fire, which happened about a year ago. Many improvements have been made. We reassessed what we're doing there, and a lot of good progress has been made. But one of the reasons that we thought an enterprise fund would be useful is that it may have a surplus and we would have some retained earnings, so we would be able to pay for the future improvements and replacement of some of the buildings that were destroyed, which we haven't been able to do just yet. So I'm not sure that in the calculations that we saw on the screen tonight, any money for a potential reserve to pay the mortgage on the additional repairs has been figured or not.
Thank you. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I should have said that's a question. Have we reserved, in these calculations, have we put any money in for reserves to potentially pay for the future cost of rebuilding the transfer station?
Thank you. Sorry I missed the question. Mr. Joyce.
Brian Joyce, Director of Public Works. So on the town website, there's a business plan that shows our projected revenues, and there's a surplus. Right now with the fire, we have a lot of new equipment. We don't have the building that was destroyed, but it does show a surplus revenue that would go into a capital fund just for the RTF as an enterprise fund. That would also relieve any of the requests for the RTF from the capital budget fund, allowing them to entertain more requests from the town.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. It does require a majority vote for adoption. All those in favor of the motion on Article 6, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. That sounds close. I'm afraid we're going to do a hand count. Tellers, could I ask you to please take your stations? So while the tellers take their stations, I'll remind you, you're going to vote yes or no, holding up. You're going to vote yes or no. I'm holding these slips of paper up in the hand. We'll do yeses first, then nos. And no voters up in this section, right? Okay, if you, why don't you move Brian to just someplace where your vote will be counted. Thank you. Okay, tellers, you ready?
Is it 2/3 vote?
No, it's a majority. All right, tellers ready? Okay. All those in favor, please hold your slips of paper up in the air, please. Debbie, you got the chair up front? Yep. Okay. Okay, tellers all good? Okay, you can hands down on the yeses. All those opposed, voting no, please put your cards up in the air, please. Slips of paper in the air. Okay, tellers, once you've got your count, you can bring me your slips. The vote tally is yes, 106, no, 133. The motion fails. Okay, we will proceed to Article 7. So note, there is a note, I think it's in your packet. Yes, there's a note in your packet that there's an item that was provisional in Article 7 that would be included if Article 6, the motion on Article 6 did not pass, which it did not. So the motion that I'm going to ask for is in the full amount set forth in Article 7 of the $1,041,000, et cetera, and includes all 9 projects. Again, because Article 6 failed. So when I ask for a motion in the form distributed in the meeting, that's the form of motion that somebody will be making. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. Motion has been made. Is there a second? Thank you. It does require a motion under Article 7 requires majority vote for adoption. Town Manager Chris Senior.
So there's an interesting mixed bag of things in here, including, for example, the annual transfer that goes from our Verizon and Comcast fees right to 143 TV. That's number 4. There was a small amount of money that was listed as an expense, but it wasn't listed as coming out of capital stabilization. So the town accountant said, let's fix it. That's the $4,125 for the Trees Pond Fund Relief Project. The water department has asked for our money to come out of their retained earnings to go back into their budget for 2 things where they've had extra expenses in those lines and they don't want to run out of money before the end of the year. So those are both in there. That's project 7 and 8. And there's some money that's coming back from the sewer department. The town had to pay a bill for them in the spring that got missed by them at town meeting. So this is the money coming back from the sewer fund back to the general fund and going over to the DPW. And then there's the numbers that are needed to balance the RTF budget. That's numbers 2 and number 9.
Thank you. The Select Board recommends approval by a vote of 4-0. The Advisory Committee recommends approval by a vote of 9-0. And the Water Commission recommends approval by a vote of 3-0 for the water-related projects. Is there discussion? We'll proceed to a voice vote. Motion on Article 7 does require a majority vote for adoption. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is adopted by the requisite majority vote. Article 8, allocation of funds for one-time costs. May I have a motion in the form distributed to the meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. It requires a majority vote for adoption. I recognize the Town Manager, Chris Senior.
4 items. The first is to provide funding for the clerk to change her the model by which she provides all facility stickers. It's going to make it easier for everybody all around. It's going to save the clerk's office some time and energy and hopefully make it easier for everybody. There was a major repairs done here in this building to the high school electrical room earlier this year when there was some flooding issues. Fortunately, the electrical system survived. That said, it turned out there was some old failed work done 25 years ago that had to be redone. Drainage pipes that were not properly connected. All that work ended up costing more, but the electrical room is now safe. So there's no more flooding in there. And then there's money for the Cohasset Common Village Historic District Study. The Cohasset the Cohasset Historical Commission has asked, and the Select Board has appointed a committee to study adding the village district, the business district, and creating a historic district there. And this would pay for a consultant to help with the first few steps of that. And then, as I think everyone is aware, plovers have found Sandy Beach. They've been there a couple of years. We're now listed, Sandy Beach is now listed as a preferred habitat, and there's going to be additional work that will have to be done this summer. So this is money that will help pay for some of those costs, both for monitoring and perhaps for some barriers wherever the plovers might choose to nest.
Thank you. The Select Board recommends approval by a vote of 4-0, and the Advisory Committee recommends
balanced budget against a tide of rising needs. An increase in fees across the district and strategic hiring to replace retiring teachers. While raising fees across the district was a difficult decision, as were the other measures that we made, we were pleased that we were able to avoid cutting any classroom teacher positions. The school committee supports the concept of fully funded full-day kindergarten, but it is our belief that the best way to achieve that goal is by taking careful, measured steps in that direction in the context of the district's overall budget and operational priorities. This is the only way to ensure we set the district up for long-term and sustainable success. The school committee met with the petitioners and discussed this proposal in depth in a public forum at its meeting on October 8th, and the committee voted not to recommend support of this article, with 4 members voting in opposition and 1 abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. For the Select Board, Paul Grady.
Indicated, we voted 5-0 not to approve the petition, not because we don't believe in free afternoon kindergarten, as half day is already mandated by the state, but we feel that the petition as written is not really enforceable. And it's not good policy, in our opinion, for in the middle of a budget cycle to change up the metrics and the funding source for something where we're already at. We have expressed that we'd be happy to work with the school committee, as we have in years past, and help them find a way to get this done from FY27 going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee. The advisory committee voted 8-1 to not recommend this article to town meeting for several reasons, none of which are that full-day kindergarten is not important. And in fact, full-day kindergarten is available for a fee of $3,000, which is down from when I was on the school committee. This petition has been presented separately to 3 groups: the select board, the school committee, and the advisory committee, with all 3 voting against the petition. As a side note, each time the citizens group received a negative response, the petition was worded with a different means to fund it for the next presentation. The first presentation suggested reductions to 3 town departments that provide vital services, including cybersecurity protections. The second presentation was to the school committee and suggested asking the town to find the money and add it to the school side of the budget, despite the fact that there were already deficits in that budget. However, the school committee explained that even if the town increased the school budget by $300,000, they could not guarantee the funds would be used for refunds, as they are already running with a deficit and their financial priorities differ from doing so. Their latest version suggests taking $300,000 from free cash, so parents whose children are enrolled this year and have already paid can be refunded. For those residents who were in town during the 2011-2012 fiscal crisis, this last suggestion would put our town in a potential precarious financial position and leave our reserves at a dangerously low level. Since 2012, our town officials and various town committees have worked hard to right the ship, and we should be very careful to never repeat that situation. In summary, this petition serves just 100 children versus the needs of our entire town, which is now at an inflection point. My hope is that this special town meeting will recognize the work of all our town officials who have listened to this group over the course of several meetings and who oversee the needs of our town as a whole and not support this petition. I would also suggest that making changes in a budget at a midpoint in the year that was voted at a previous annual town meeting is inappropriate. One last thing. On a personal note, prior to running for school committee in 2010, I attended every single school committee meeting, at least 2 per month, sometimes more, for the entire previous year, asking questions along the way in a calm and respectful manner. My suggestion to the petitioners would be to go to
Be careful
meetings.
that you're not making any remarks about people or petitioners. We're just talking about the motion, please.
Okay. All right, then I guess I can't say that I think that they should start
No, you
going to
cannot.
meetings. I would suggest they be informed on the budget process, however. Thank you.
When we had half-day K, so that students would not miss those afternoon academic time slots.
Thank you. In the center here.
Virginia Johnson, 542 Jerusalem Road, Cohasset. Full-day kindergarten offers positive gains, including improved academic achievement in reading and math, better school readiness, stronger social and emotional skills compared to half-day programs. This can lead to higher academic performance throughout elementary school, with fewer grade retentions, smoother transitions to first grade. I am voting for all-day, full-day kindergarten because I believe in creating an inclusive environment for all.
Thank you. Further discussion? Right here.
Virginia Brophy, 16 Beechwood Street. I have, my children are all through kindergarten. My oldest is 35, my youngest 32. Kindergarten is critical. And when you say it only represents this question, 100 students, if one of those 100 was mine or yours.
No, please do not address remarks to a speaker, please. Just address them to me or to the meeting, please.
Well, okay, so I'm just saying, I'm addressing everyone, that this is our future, not the building, not the crayons, the paper, the roof. It's the future. And I think it's important that we vote for it.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Yes, here.
Good evening, neighbors. My name is Cassandra Dragon Archambault, and I live at 290 Beechwood Street. I've taught in rural, urban, and international schools and helped found an international baccalaureate boarding school in New York that secured both state and IB accreditation. I hold a master's in educational policy, research, and administration, and I've taught in public, private, and non-formal schools in the US and China. And I never went to kindergarten. As a summer baby, the youngest in the class, I began school already behind. I spent years catching up, learning how to learn while everyone else seemed to know the rules. I worked hard and I was lucky, but I know what it feels like to start on the other side of the door of opportunity and how much effort it takes to push that door open. From every vantage point as a teacher, an administrator, a parent, and someone who had to find her own way into the system, I've seen the same truth. Communities define themselves not by what they say they value, but by what they choose to fund. Kindergarten is the foundation of a strong public school system. Over 95% of Massachusetts towns now offer tuition-free full-day kindergarten. Cohasset stands as an outlier, not because we lack the means, but because we haven't yet aligned our funding with our values. Full-day kindergarten gives teachers the time to meet children where they are, to notice the quiet one who needs encouragement, the curious one who needs challenge, and the anxious one who needs time to feel safe. Half-day models rush that work. A full day allows learning to take root and curiosity to thrive. The research is clear. Children in full-day programs enter first grade more prepared and need less remediation later. When children start strong, the whole system benefits. And economically, this is about sustainability. The tuition Cohasset charges has never reflected the true cost of delivery. It's been a Band-Aid to cover deficits elsewhere. That's not sound planning. Predictable, consistent funding allows administrators to plan responsibly and families to participate fully in community life. And if we don't modernize now, we risk falling even further behind. Years ago, the state offered a grant to support the transition to full-day kindergarten. Many towns took that opportunity, and Cohasset did not. Our state senator has since helped the few remaining towns secure one-time allocations, but only if we can demonstrate a sustainable plan. Without that plan, we miss future grants and pre-K expansion opportunities, putting our children in our community at a growing disadvantage. Public education is a public good, not a commodity. Student fees like bus, athletic, or parking costs are not equivalent to tuition for core instruction. Kindergarten is part of the foundation of public education and not an optional add-on. Tonight, you may hear references to other districts' budget crises, Whitman-Hanson, for example. But their situation was the result of inherited budget oversights, not the inevitable outcome of funding education responsibly. What happened there was reactionary. What we are proposing here is proactive, an active planning and alignment, a commitment to long-term stability and shared growth. Because this is not just a school issue, this is a town issue, a reflection of what Cohasset values and how we choose to embody those values through our collective priorities. When we invest in education sustainably,
Just a time check, you're at 4 minutes.
we strengthen our town's fiscal outlook, their civic trust, and long-term appeal. Supporting tuition-free kindergarten isn't about taking from one group to give to another. It's about investing wisely in our children, in our teachers, and in our town's long-term strength. It's not an ideological debate, it's a moral and strategic choice. When Cohasset chooses to make full-day kindergarten free and universal, we affirm our belief in the promise of every child and in a future we build together. Please vote yes on Article 12. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see 3 people already. Put the woman back in the mic in the middle, please.
Lindsay Dean, 20 Joy Place. And I echo what you heard a lot of people say tonight, that kindergarten is building the foundation for education. It's the first time that our Cohasset students get to be in the same classroom together. We have people in different nursery schools. We have people at home with their parents. It actually is the foundation for the rest of their education, and we should be investing in that foundation. And one of the things that I heard repeatedly in the reviews where people said we're not supporting this is that this isn't the process for doing that. A couple years ago, we were here at town meeting doing exactly what we're doing now. We got the vote out. We had a lot of people here saying, yes, we want to support full-day kindergarten. And then that money never came through the way we thought it was going to. And so then it got cut from the budget. So I ask you tonight, how are we going to solve that problem? How are we going to tell our children that their education is important, is potentially the most important thing that we are giving them as a town? We heard repeatedly, education is like the #1 thing. People move to Cohasset for that. We cannot let our children fall behind because they don't have that. And we can't tell a single family that they can't participate in kindergarten because there's a cost. It is public and it should be free. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw Mr. McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Craig McClellan. I reside at 8 Rustic Drive, and it's been my privilege and pleasure to serve on our school committee for the last 7 years. I apologize. I'll be louder this time. I think that might have been the first time in my life someone's accused me of being too quiet. But as the last speaker just noted, the school committee sponsored an article at prior town meetings that tried to make free full-day kindergarten a reality here in Cohasset, and we remain committed to that goal today. The issue with that was that we did not receive the contemplated funding from the state in order to make that a reality. In order to make it a reality in perpetuity. So the one-time funding that we got at that town meeting did not allow us to afford that programming without the family subsidy moving forward. The reason, and I'm just one of those 5 votes, but the reason I did not support this article is because it will get us in the same exact position as we were after that prior vote. It seeks to take, and it's even worse because it seeks to take free cash and allocate that to a reimbursement for this year's tuition without providing any structure to provide for this programming in perpetuity. So the appropriate way to go about this is to work with the relevant stakeholders and groups in order to ensure that we can find some funding in the town budget that allows us every year to fund this. When we first tried to do it, we thought that money was going to be coming from the state. That is not happening. So we need to find it somewhere else in the town budget. We cannot find it elsewhere in the school budget because that would require us to cut costs, which would usually result in a reduction of force. Our school district is excellent in Cohasset right now. We are ranked very high. We do not want to reduce force right now. It would lose momentum. It would be contrary to our mission right now and our objective. So I urge everyone to remain patient and understand that the school committee, all of whom are here tonight, remain committed to this very important initiative. We are also completely in agreement with the sentiments of the petitioners, but this is not the mechanism through which to do it. It is not fiscally sound, and it actually leads to a dangerous precedent, because if we're reimbursing one cohort of families this year, why I had 2 children that went to kindergarten, I paid $3,500 for each of them. Why am I not going to get a $7,000 check in the mail? Why are every other family that's currently sending their kids to school going to get reimbursed? Why isn't everyone that lives in town still, that at one point in time sent their kids to kindergarten and paid the tuition, why aren't they going to get reimbursed? We can't use free cash for that purpose. It's not fiscally responsible. So I would urge everyone to vote against this particular warrant article and have confidence in your school committee, and that we will figure out a way to ultimately deliver this programming to the town. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. I've got the gentleman over here.
Hi, Colin Smith, 171 Sawyer Street. I had already gone to a school committee meeting a while back, and I talked about the reasons that this bothered me. And the main reason is that the reality is in 2023, we all as a town voted on free full-day kindergarten. The decision to reverse that was made by a very small group of individuals without any real input from the community. Now, if we have kids going to school full day, it's not going to, if we have them going half day, it's not going to cut the utility fees. It's not going to make a $300,000 difference. That amount is really just to cover mismanagement of the school budget, targeting a very small group of people.
Thank you. I've got the woman right here.
Carol Carter, 382 North Main Street. I will not speak nearly as eloquently as those who went before me. I'm going to speak as a resident of nearly 40 years, and my husband, our children are actually 4th generation Cohasset. Love the town. The school system is a major benefit. It increases all of our property values, etc. However, this is not the time for what is being presented before us. We put 2 boys through this system, one very intelligent, very blessed, the other more challenged and on the spectrum. The support and the teachers and the IEPs, this town, fabulous. Strongly support the school system. This is not the time. We have to restructure it. It does have to happen, not in this box that it's being presented in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Gentleman here.
Hello, my name is Lance Dial, 21 Rocky Lane, current secretary of the school committee. and I had the honor and privilege of being the chair of the school committee when we came to town floor and asked for that allocation of $300,000 to provide full-day kindergarten. I just want to correct a little bit of the record on that. That allocation, that request was made on condition and the view that we would receive state Chapter 70 funding to fully fund in perpetuity the kindergarten program. The formula, the math did not work, primarily due to inflation concerns at the time, but it was never an idea or a thought that the school budget itself, without additional state funding, could support full-day kindergarten. Now, I also want to focus on one other element. I support full-day kindergarten. It happened under my chairmanship that we had the 1 year of fully subsidized, fully free kindergarten. But that's not what we're voting on today. We can talk about the virtues of kindergarten. I agree with it. It is foundational education. Let's accept that as given. But what we're voting on is effectively whether or not to allocate $300,000 from free cash to the schools, and then for the school committee, under pressure from this August body, to refund it to people who've already paid taxes. It does nothing to help our schools. The way to help our schools is to deliberately and responsibly figure out a way to increase our school funding going forward, not at a one-time cost that's meant to go refund fees, but rather in a thoughtful, deliberate way that addresses the needs of the community and the priorities of the school. We have other things we need to do as well, in addition to full-day kindergarten. So I support the idea of full-day kindergarten. I respect the petitioner's enthusiasm and passion, and I hope that we can gather all that and come together as a community and find a way to provide all of these services to our students, because we are doing great as a district. But this sets us back, in my view. So I will urge everyone to oppose this petition.
Thank you. Senator.
Hi, my name is Jean Healy Dippold, 93 South Main Street. Well, I think Lance effectively said everything that I wanted to say. When I was chair of the select board, when Lance was chair of the school committee, that was in fact what we put on the warrant, what we said at town meeting. That was what we understood was the deal, and we were in fact hopeful that free full-day kindergarten would come to fruition, but unfortunately it did not. I also agree with him that, and the rest of the school committee and all of the boards who have studied Cohasset's finances for multiple decades, that this is not fiscally responsible. We know sitting here today that the state who has to certify our free cash calculation has certified it at 1.2 million. That is the lowest free cash we've had since the financial crisis in 2012. We just spent 600,000 of it about 1 hour ago. And we also just added another 400,000 to our this year's budget, which means we're gonna have less free cash going into next year. Like it or not, times are very tight. We are very close to the line. And I will say the word out loud of override. At a certain point, we are going to get to a point where our expenses are exceeding the revenue that we are bringing in, and our desires are exceeding the expenses that we are bringing in. And I think that if this is the precursor to an override campaign, it is a very bad idea. You do not invest in Cohasset by taking from it. You invest by the slow, careful fiscal management and making sure that the citizens trust you when you say, we have looked, we have combed through the budget, but if we want more services, if we want to keep our services, we have to ask you to pay for more. That is the responsible thing to do, including to pay for kindergarten. And candidly, if someone said that to me and said, you have gone through that process, I would vote for that override and tax increase, but I'm not going to vote for this.
Thank you. Mr. Pease.
Sam Pease, 3 Sankey Road. I'd like to call a question, please.
Okay, a motion has been made to call the question. That's a motion to stop debate. It requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. What we're going to do, so we're going to have 2 votes, right? First is going to be, do we stop debate? It takes 2/3 to adopt. If it's passed, then we go on to vote on the main motion about the citizens petition. If the motion to call the question fails, then we will keep discussing the citizen petition before we vote. Everybody got that? All right, on the motion to call the question and stop debate, vote in favor is to stop debate, vote against continues debate. It does require 2/3 vote. All those in favor of the motion to call the question, stop debate, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion to call the question passes. We will now proceed to a voice vote on the citizens petition. This is required a majority vote for adoption. We'll proceed by voice vote first. All those in favor of the citizens petition under Article 12, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. The motion is defeated. That concludes the business in the warrant. Thank you very much for the consideration and respect you have shown each other and for moving expeditiously. May I have a motion to dissolve? Thank you. May I have a second? Second. All those in favor of the motion to dissolve, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The meeting is dissolved. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.